Meta Perspective Podcast.
Hello, and welcome to Meta Perspective Podcast. We're your hosts, Alex,
Evan,
and the girl. This is the show where we talk about deep and interesting topics and try to get to the heart of the idea through multiple perspectives.
But if you are joining us for the first time, please give the channel a follow and the video a like. We plan to do random giveaways, things like that in the future, so it doesn't hurt to stay active.
Speaking of staying active, don't forget to jump in that chat, because we want to hear future topic ideas that you might come up with, or just what you have to say about this topic. Because obviously Meta Perspective Podcast isn't meta
without your perspective. Well, thanks for joining us tonight. We are continuing our series on spirituality. I believe this is the 8th episode. We've had some guests, talked about a couple topics, but tonight we're going to focus on just the general attack on Christianity in our modern society. I guess I'll preface the conversation with, there's a big push for acceptance of cultures, of peoples, races, how people live their lives, things like that. Every year goes by and we're like, oh, it's 2025, it's 2026. We've been saying that for like 5 or 6 years now, or 10 years or whatever. And it's more relevant every year, apparently. But it seems like over that time, everyone accepts everything but straight white Christian males. Or, it's like there's a clear bias. And
connotation that Christianity is against everything else.
Right. Yeah, and that's kind of the thing. I'm not saying this because I'm mad about it or anything like that. It's just it's clearly a trend, and to support every other culture but demonize Christianity or what is considered as the status quo is a bit strange. In a deeply rooted sense, I think it's an attack on the foundation of this country and. America being a free society, this is something that global interests cannot have in order to implement their forms of control and manipulation.
That being like a one world currency, a one world government, kind of like something to foreshadow and pull everything together, which could sound great unless you're a nation that operates under like a rule of God and says, we're the best. It's like, well, you guys, this would be a better way. We got it figured out.
Right.
We got to do something.
Yeah, and it's sacrificing, your traditions and your foundations for acceptance, and we've seen how that can get a little sticky. And it's not necessarily that those things are wrong. We're not saying that. It's just that that everyone has a right to express themselves and live freely in society. So why is it that the foundational structure of our founding fathers and how this country has started and existed for the last 250 years, I'll say like the first 200 significantly was that, it's just very strange that it's the only non-acceptable class, and it's all based on this history of oppression and all that, and that's all alleged to me. It's not really what's really going on under the hood, and that's kind of what this discussion tonight is about, is why is this attack on Christianity something that you just kind of know in your gut, and even if you're not Christian, you can at least acknowledge that there is some type of I don't know the right word, but there's some type of, red flag or target on the back of this religion in specifically. Whereas, Jewish or Muslim, they all believe in the same God. These are all the major monotheistic religions, and they all acknowledge that they all believe in the same God. So why, out of the three, is the one being kind of scrutinized? I mean, I guess maybe you could make an argument that the Jewish version is being scrutinized now more heavily with all the stuff going on in the Middle East. But, why isn't the Muslim side being scrutinized equally? So it's a peculiar situation that we find ourselves in. At the same time, there's kind of been a resurgence of, I'll say Christianity, but, spirituality in general. So, it's an interesting phenomenon that we're experiencing, and I was talk about why that might be. What are the factors at play?
Yeah, I think it's interesting as you see like the kind of blanket of acceptance for, virtually everything. When, growing up before any of this stuff was talked about, everybody kind of agreed, like, we accept people for who they are. Everybody just keep to themselves. Keep your personal stuff to yourself. And the argument started becoming a little broader, where it was like, well, I should just be accepted even if I have entered your reality. You should have a good response, which I've always thought is ridiculous, because you shouldn't do that with anybody. If you don't,
a foundational courtesy
for anybody, you shouldn't do that. A foundational courtesy to me it's a backdoor for bad situations. This person matches this idea in my head. Like, this person's trans, for example, and I want to be supportive, so I'm just going to be open and this and that. And the thing is, it's not that it's a trans person; it's a stranger you don't know. Period. Doesn't matter if it's a straight guy dressed in a business suit. It doesn't matter. You can be nice to somebody, and I think across the board, most people are just either nice to somebody or they just keep to themselves. But overall, I don't think there's really ever been a problem. Again, there's things that I could do to go out and express myself that people would be like, that's kind of obnoxious. And it's like, it's that to me is a courtesy, is me being like, I'm going to keep my stuff to myself. If a guy's in a business suit, again, I'm not going to look and be like, oh, he's a businessman, I need to show him more respect and let my guards down. Like, no, you don't know this person. They're a stranger. It doesn't matter how they look, what they're dressed like. But I feel like that's one of the back doors that's been created, is when somebody sees somebody that meets XYZ, kind of like a stereotype in media for like, this is somebody who's, they're looked down on in society. Whether that's true or not, if I believe that, it's going to change how I interact with them. But you should interact with every stranger the same way. I feel like we all grew up with that and we're all forgetting it.
Right. I mean, there seems to be an obvious bias, and I'll bring up an example it's not meant to be offensive or prejudiced, but if you look at kind of the religiously motivated attacks on civilians that have happened over the last 20 years, it's obvious that a majority of them are from Muslims, and that is not, that's just the reality of the situation. I'm not making any stance on that. So why, it's why, I don't think there's been really any type of Christian extremism, but yet the group is so heavily attacked, and it's just kind of got this ick to it. It's just interesting. It's like people, I get that the secularization of our society has kind of taken, people that were maybe raised religious or have some type of religious connection through their family or whatever, and kind of rejected that through, science or whatever. But, why accept, a religion that is inherently violent versus one that is traditionally where we come from, and what's going on there? And there's an obvious Well, it's not that people all just decided, hey, let's all just attack Christianity and accept Muslims and Jews, or it's like it's just been systematically introduced probably for the last, I don't know, couple decades.
Yeah, I mean, from movies, I mean, you always have the guy, the end is near, standing on the corner just yelling, always looks homeless, usually blind or something. You see a lot of that in movies, especially, like a decade ago or so. I feel like it was a little more prominent. And then now it's just kind of like they've turned away from it entirely in media. You don't really see winks at Christianity or religion in general much at all. But it is interesting. You bring up a good point. Like, if your issue with the Christian Bible is, well, there's hate in it and all these rules and all that stuff, it's ridiculous. It's like, well, I mean, there's a lot of evidence that Jesus was a real person who lived a real life. And not just that he was real. There's a lot of evidence that shows that the stuff that happened to him down to the crucifixion all happened. So then you have to start asking, so if this person really did go around and just help people and was killed for just being good and saying, I embody God, I am God, and they're killed for that, for blasphemy by the Jewish people. If a Jewish person, and again, the Jewish religion is a lot more heavily rooted in the laws of God, so it's going to be a lot more strict.
Yeah.
So you have a religion of people who, the Pharisees, kill Jesus. You have all of these rules, but I feel like if most people saw a Jewish person preaching God on the street, they would be more supportive. If you saw a Muslim person preaching the Quran, which again, the extremism within the culture really comes from the religion. So when you look at these things and it's like, do you really picture people being like, hey, don't preach your stuff here? Do you see them saying that to the Muslim guy preaching the Quran? Do you see them? Can you picture? I can't picture him doing it to anybody other than like just a white dude or something.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, then you're being racist or you're being
right.
offensive. But if it's a white person with Christianity, they don't have roots in anything. There's nothing that protects you. I can just attack you. It's like, it's a weird outlet that's been created.
Yeah.
Which, when you see how everybody viewed everything in this country for the past like 50 years at least, and all of a sudden it's like it seems like we've turned on each other to be like, if you tell me that Jesus loves me, it's going to set me off.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, isn't that kind of what the whole Bible's about? It wasn't about like politics and this and that or anything. It was about good and evil, and that the good going through this world, it shined light on the evil. And when Jesus would walk out, people would just scream at him. They would yell at him. He'd gotten beat up before. It's like, it's people just kind of coming at him, but all he is the embodiment of love. So it's kind of interesting when you see that outlet created, how many people start feeling justified to just attack it. And it's like, but why? You wouldn't do this with any other religious person.
Yeah.
From any other ethnicity. But a lot of the messages are all the exact same. When it goes to like just the social aspects.
Yeah. I think in a lot of ways, because you mentioned, it doesn't really show up in media, and the influence isn't as heavily weighted towards Christianity. But I think, if anything, you do see Catholicism pretty heavily, or the most 50% reference.
Of the horror movies you watch.
Right. I mean, yeah, it's like, The Exorcist and all that, but like, even from our politicians, like Biden, for example, he was apparently like, Irish Catholic or whatever. And it's like, he goes to the mass and stuff like that. But it's like everyone on the left is just anti-Christian, but you have this Catholicism kind of is protected a little bit. And I think that's another reason why, and I'm not necessarily blaming Christianity as a religion for this, but it's like you've got the Vatican and the power that they've exercised over the last 500 years, going back to the Age of Exploration, where the conquered the New World and all that.
They're the new Romans.
This is right. This is the Holy Roman Empire. It's like that. The Romans basically took that and became that, and then fast forward a couple hundred years and you got the Vatican and all that, and then those were the colonizers, and I think that's kind of somehow rooted in this. But I think this all comes down to the founding of the country, one nation founded under God. This kind of stuff is to all of those in the world that wish to control their own societies, which is not America. Communism. You have, multiple examples of that through the past 50, 60 years, 80 years or whatever. Religion was a big thing. The state is the religion. This is how people are controlled. They don't give them free will, don't give them freedom, don't give them hope and all this, make them rely on you so you can control them, and then they can do things for you, and then your society will function well because they're ants in a colony kind of mentality. And if the global perspective is to get a handle on population and all these World Economic Forum kind of concept ideas, then America is just like the prom king, just star athlete doing great and everything's perfect. And all the fucking nerds are looking at him like, we got to take him out. The nerds will rise. That's kind of the
we got to
situation.
get rid of the one person who can stop us.
So, attacking the foundation is the goal, in my opinion. And that has been brainwashed into the media, into everything. And, that I think that's kind of maybe the root. There was maybe like some scientific, people kind of turned away from religion as soon as you started figuring out more about science. Now it's kind of leaning back the other way, where we're kind of like proving some of this stuff. And it's just kind of it's a weird place that we find ourselves in. And it's really just a spiritual battle. Kind of what you alluded to earlier. It's the good and the evil. And, when somebody is challenged with the good, or at least faced with the idea of it, like somebody on the street preaching, it's a visceral reaction. Why is that? Why is it not a visceral reaction to someone preaching the Quran or something? It's measurably different. And, I think a lot of that is kind of a brainwashing campaign. But it could, there is a portion, or it could very well be solely kind of a good and evil battle where, if someone has rejected the idea of God and someone is preaching to them ideas of God, then they get this visceral reaction because it's, maybe it's something else has taken hold of them. I don't know. I mean, I see both sides. I think,
or even just simply projecting, of being like,
Right.
He'll forgive your sins. Don't remind me of stuff that I know I did.
exactly.
Even if you don't acknowledge that's why you're getting upset, it's somebody, I guess, who represents that acknowledgement and accountability that you just don't want to. You don't want to see. You don't want to acknowledge. You don't want to think about it, welcome it. So when somebody's like, "Hey, I'm trying to remind people of this stuff. You're like, no, stop. Nobody wants to be reminded of this stuff.
Yeah.
We're all just trying to keep doing this stuff and feel okay doing it. Don't make us feel like we have to change because of stuff that happened to us that turned us bad. It's like, I feel like psychologically that's kind of the reaction.
Yeah.
Is it's like, there's stuff that I haven't dealt with that changed who I am. Don't tell me that I have to do all of this work on myself to fix myself because I'm a bad person when it's not my fault. And it's like, I can totally understand that, you know? It's part of the process of trauma, you know, is being a victim, kind of. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think that is kind of at the root of it, is that there's a big victim mentality at play in a lot of people's mind because there are rewards and social benefits to that, and we've obviously seen that. That's kind of the whole marginalized classes or something. It's even DEI. I'm not saying that these things are wrong. It's just like that we've seen, for the past 10 to 20 years, that has been, or I would say 20 years or more, that's kind of been a goal of, our society or our culture. And, because of that, it's created this kind of victim mentality where if I am part of this marginalized group, then I am a victim, and then I can kind of claim that I, maybe deserve benefits, or if anything, my actions are absolvable because it's not my choice. I've been marginalized. I've been attacked, and I've been put down in society. It doesn't motivate anyone to better themselves or necessarily rise above that. It's almost the opposite. It's digging into that position.
Yeah, it's like
and that's a defensible position.
If you're not getting the best grades, and then the teachers tell you, you have ADHD or a slight form of autism or something like that, are you going to start working harder to counterbalance that? Or are you going to be like, well, that's why. And now I have a reason for why the expectations should be low for me. It's basically like being told, hey, the expectations are lower for you than most people. Well, then why should I try twice as hard? If society already accepts that lower bar.
Yeah.
It's like, take that same person and be like, hey, the reason you get lower grades is because you're just not interested. Your mind's working too powerfully. And then put them on something else and see how much they thrive and explode. It's like the same thing can help somebody or hinder somebody depending on how it's delivered. And if you tell a kid, oh, the reason you have bad grades is because you just can't focus. It's not because you're not interested in the stuff. Your brain doesn't work. So we're going to give you speed, little boy. Yeah. And that'll help you figure out when George Washington's birthday was, because you can't seem to get it right on the test. Yeah. Knowing when that president was born matters.
Well, he was a slave owner, so who cares about him?
Well, it used to matter.
Well, I mean, that's
10 years later, it was a crime to know.
Well, I mean, there's something in that, and what you said was that's profoundly true now, is that, people feel like I don't have to perform well because it's not my fault if I don't. There's a scapegoat mentally where, the world is stacked against us, and I'm marginalized for some reason. I'm a victim, so, I don't have to live up to the standards that have existed for the last couple hundred years. It's not fair now. And that's kind of like, it's that mixed with an accountability thing. It's like, I can do these things, and if God's not going to hold me accountable, if the state's not going to hold me accountable because of this or that reason, then I don't have to hold myself accountable because there's no one holding me accountable. So it means that I can do whatever I want, and if I do something bad, the only person that would be telling me that that's bad is the idea of the teachings of a uniform religion or some type of structure that's not laws. It's like...
Yeah, you see it with like Walgreens and stuff in certain areas where they pass laws where it's like, oh, it's not a crime if it's under 1,500 or under 500 or under 1,000 or something like that.
Shoplifting?
Yeah. And so all of a sudden, they're getting robbed like crazy. And stores in different areas are just shutting down. Because if you lower that bar and say, if you say no stealing, people are going to be afraid to steal. They might still steal, but they'll be afraid to steal.
Yeah.
Lower that bar and be like, you can steal, just nothing over $500.
Nothing over what it would cost us to pay a lawyer to...
Yeah, now you can go in there, you can steal a bunch of, you can steal like $30 worth of candy before you go to the movies, and if they catch you, they're just going to let you go.
Yeah.
Best case scenario for them, they get their candy back. Worst case scenario for you, you got to pay at the theater, and it's going to be expensive. You should just bought it at Walgreens.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you're doing. You're lowering that bar, and if you do that to a person's mind and you say, well, you have this. It's like, well, what is this? Well, we don't fully understand how to explain it other than you can't focus. But why? Is it that my mind is operating and focused on it? Maybe I'm picking up different patterns and I'm like, these don't fit into the model I'm creating.
Yeah.
And I cannot, for the life of me, figure out how this actually can help me. And so my mind's just not absorbing the information because my brain's rejecting. It's like, this is trash. Like, they're trying to force you to put all this stuff into your mind, and it's going to take a lot of power to remember George Washington's birthday because you don't care about when he was born.
I mean, that's another interesting thing, too. It just makes me think of because, at the time the Bible was written, a lot of the stories of the Bible and the life of Jesus, these aren't the popes and the cardinals and bishops and stuff. This is, at the time they were also an oppressed group and impoverished. This is the same scenario of the time that the Bible was, a lot of these stories were written. It's like, the Old Testament is just basically the Jews are persecuted until Jesus, and then Jesus is persecuted, and then, Christians are persecuted. It's everyone. So it's the same scenario. These people that feel like they're persecuted now, there's not there. It's interesting why there is not a relation there, or like a not a relationship, but like an empathy or some type of connection to that story. The people that are claiming that status now, it's like these are what the teachings are about. So it doesn't have anything to do with class or race or anything like that. This is a teaching for all of humanity. So why is it becoming a tool of oppression? When the tool is a result of oppression, it's like there's a weird disconnect there, and that's why I think it comes back to the Catholic Church in a lot of ways. A lot of this hatred towards Christianity over the past 500 years is a result of that. But, we are constantly moving. I mean, even the Founding Fathers, these were, they had money because they were successful people, but these people were risking their lives. They weren't kings. They're not, all high mighty people. These were just regular, smart individuals that got together and broke away from Great Britain, which was the largest, most powerful empire in the world. More powerful than the Roman Empire. Great Britain was the most powerful empire in America, in world history, and at the height, it still is. So that was like a big finger, fuck you, we're being oppressed by this evil empire. How does that not relate to people? I mean, you could claim that the government's oppressing us, but it's not the same thing. We're not. You see what I'm saying? It's like it's not. It doesn't translate the same way as a foreign entity or someone telling you what to do. The government and the founding fathers had that. They broke away. They established something for us to do our own thing and live freely how we want to. And somehow, within the last 20 years, people have turned it into this oppressive engine that must be dismantled.
I think a lot of
same way as Christianity.
I think a lot of that is because of how the Bible's attacked. If you can frame it as this evil thing, then people won't read it and find out that it's not. They're just going to see it as what they've been told it is.
Right. They're just taught to reject it.
And that's all it is. I mean, it's just a blanket statement over the whole book. It's like, oh, this is a book about oppression. What are you going off of? That's what I heard from people who did read it. How do you know they read it? Because they were passionate about telling me that it's an evil book. It's like, well, sounds like the devil. I don't know. Give it a read.
Yeah.
It's like form your own opinions. I would never sit there and just trash something I didn't investigate. And I'm not going to be stupid enough to be like, well, let me do my investigation through somebody else. Like, no, I'm going to do my own digging into the source so I can formulate my own view and be like, okay, this is what they're saying, but it really does kind of look like a little more like this. And that makes me wonder, why are they trying to tell me that it's that? And then you start to form your own opinions. But if you can sit there and frame it as like this evil thing, as this oppressive thing, well, now you can reframe all the founding fathers as just like, these were oppressive people. And you can just look at slavery, and now you can start to tie everything in, and now it starts to make sense that Christianity is what did all, and it's like, that's not, no. At the time, that's how every country operated. Like it wasn't like it was normal then. It wasn't right, but it was normal then for every country to do this.
Yeah.
We were the first ones to stop it. That should be noted.
That's another reason why, and I'll bring this up with Catholicism again. It's the whole idea of it is kind of oppressive. It's that the individual is not allowed to study the teachings and interpret them for themselves. They have to hear it from the priest or the bishop or the cardinal or whatever, and they have to rely on the institutional church for their salvation. That is a control mechanism that keeps people in the dark, unable to think for themselves. And I think that's kind of my biggest gripe with it. And I'm seeing this now is that was for a period of time post Holy Roman Empire to modern day Catholicism. There was a big period where that was used as control and oppression, and people weren't allowed to freely express their own religion because that's the whole Inquisition. And
it's like a music,
you'd be tortured.
It's like the music industry that's like, oh, these artists are getting all the attention for this new sound, and all of a sudden rock and rap and pop are like, nobody's really buying these albums anymore. They're all going to this. So you buy those people and have them sing for you. And so I think a lot of the idea, especially back in the day, you see Christianity growing, and then Catholicism kind of births into this like, look at us. Look at what we have, this glorious thing to really emphasize the glory and awe of God. Look at this building.
Yeah.
And
look at all our stuff.
And then you see that and you go, these people are close to God. And that's it. And then you go to a Catholic church and they read some of the Bible and then that's it. But like the overall message of Catholicism versus Christianity is, oh, but you don't have access to God. Even though he's in you, you can't talk to him. You haven't been doing this as long as I have. Come to this booth, tell me all of your darkest secrets, and I'll tell you how many times you pray the Hail Mary over and over. Do it maybe 9 times. That seems like a good number to really cleanse
That never made fucking any sense to me.
Yeah, I was raised
Just
Catholic, and I was
why
like...
don't you do it once? Do you have to do it 9 times? It's like Bart and The Simpsons.
Yeah, nine Hail Marys and 15 Our Fathers, and you're like, that'll knock it out, and then I can keep doing what I'm doing, but I have to rely on you for my salvation.
Right, that's another not oppressive thing, but it's another distortion.
Along with you cannot
do whatever
pray,
you want.
You can't pray to God, but you can pray to the saints and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, the Bible says I can't pray. I can't connect with any human after they passed. And you're telling me I can do it with saints because even though they're human, somehow they become an exception to the rule of the Bible.
Dude, it's weird.
It's you tweak a few little things. Just those 2 things says that I cannot get genuine repentance through God because he can't forgive me. The priest has to.
Yeah.
And I'll never even figure out that I can because I'm not praying to God. I'm praying to the saints. Like, these things matter.
And, maybe one day... if you have children or something like that and you want to go on a vacation to Europe, go to Italy, go to Rome, go to Florence, go to these places, because it is fucking creepy and weird. Like, they have, the idea of relics. It's like, some cardinal or bishop or something dies, and then they have his arm, and then they fracture it into 1,000 little pieces, and then all of these churches have these little tiny glass enclosures where it's like a little fracture of the saint's bone, and they're in every church. Every church has like a relic, or I'm pretty sure that's like a requirement.
Which goes into witchcraft.
I mean, it is
Black
it's
magic,
and that's kind of where I was leading to. It's this ritual type of thing, which. That goes back throughout all human history, the idea of rituals, and even pre-Bible, Bible kind of thing. This was like the Mesopotamian,
every mass you go to is stand, kneel, sit, stand.
Yeah.
It's they tie some things with Christianity, but the majority of their stuff is ritualistic.
Yeah.
And I would say that's the difference between Christianity and Catholicism is Christianity is worship. You go to a Christian church to worship God. And they'll read scripture but tie it to everyday stuff so that you can understand and see God working in your life, to be reminded that God is for you. Like, this is in me and it's happening right now. I need to be aware of it. I need to create a bond with this God that created me, because if I have this body he created, I need to give him some access to it to help me. But with Catholicism, instead of worship, it's more ritual, which, I mean, all throughout the Bible, there's not many things where it really praises like rituals. Rituals are typically talked about as things that are going to be more sacrificial, which after the death of Jesus, that was the whole point of him dying, is now we have a human connection to God. So now we can have our sins forgiven instead of doing this counterbalance of like humanity is evil. To outweigh that, we sacrifice. Instead, we have the ultimate sacrifice, and we can just go through that. But it's also going to have a bigger impact on us.
Yeah.
We're not just sacrificing an animal to counterbalance the bad we do for our livelihood, for our crops, or for whatever. It's like now we're counterbalancing with him, which is going to also invite him in and create a relationship.
It's a self-sacrifice is kind of the, and as it holds true, it's the sacrifice is probably the most common archetype in religious history. And I had an interesting thought too about, kind of what we were talking about the roots of Catholicism and kind of weighing in and this kind of idea. It's like, I think that is partly why, people aren't, because majority of people, even Christians, haven't actually read the Bible. I've barely read any of it. I know the stories. It's been read to me at church and stuff like that, but it's like, I haven't taken the time. Like, no one really has. So, in a way, I think that people are kind of turned off to the idea of religion because it seems like it's something that you have to, sacrifice for. And
again, which is so funny that people don't attack Judaism or Catholicism when it is a lot more rooted in actually following these things. The whole point of Christianity is after the death of Jesus, like, we don't have to do most of this stuff anymore. But like these other religions are like, no, you still have to do all this stuff the same. Are you wearing white? It's like all these crazy rules that you don't just have to memorize, but you have to religiously follow.
Like Lent and all that.
And that stuff is like rejected. But Christianity, which is like the actual religion of like peace and love, of like, I accept you as you are. I want to help bring you back. Let's clean you up.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what do I have to do? Just be present. I'd rather follow a ton of rules that are a lot more restrictive, that are like, I can't eat certain foods. I can't do this. I can't wear certain clothes together or certain colors on certain days. And it's like, there's so many rules. There's a lot of rules.
And I think I get, that's kind of what I'm saying, is that the need to follow religious-based rules in our secular society where we have, everything in our fingertips, seems like extra for somebody who isn't even sure if God exists. And then this kind of comes down to the other thing I was trying to get at, was that, back in the day, let's take 1,000 years ago, the Middle Ages, the bubonic plague's going around. You're a serf in a lord's manor, and you're harvesting his grain, and you live in a fucking mud hut, and it rains every other day, and if you get a splinter, it could kill you. So like, life fucking sucked. So all these people had to look forward to is salvation of the afterlife. And so that, that I think that's deeply rooted in our ancestry, is that, for 2,000 years, life, or even further, life pretty much fucking sucked. So we relied on religion to kind of give us hope. And then now, we come into the 21st century. We've got through the Industrial Revolution. For the past 80 years, everything has been so easy. Hold on, just to finish the thought.
I see exactly.
Everything's been so easy that now people don't have a reason to rely on the afterlife, because the life now is so interesting and entertaining that, this idea of sacrificing for God.
I would argue it's done on purpose.
Well,
That's the root cause of it, because what gives people hope. How do you get rid of the hope without them knowing? Well, you let them get rid of their own hope. Here's a bunch of stuff. You don't need hope anymore. When you look at Nazi Germany, little fun fact, I guess a lot of people don't know, is one of the first things they did was they were confiscating Bibles from the Jews. So if you're in a concentration
Torahs,
if you're in a concentration camp, they're pulling any religious text you have. They don't want you to have that hope, which obviously that gives them hope. It has some power in it.
Yeah.
So they made it clear, we need to get rid of this, because this does not help us when we're trying to exterminate people. And it's to me, it's a little wild that you see all this hate towards Christianity, while in the past, religion is something that was attacked by the most evil of people. You know, it's like you have Nazis confiscating Bibles and killing Jews. Like, everybody agrees this is horrible. And then, you know, people are like, I want to talk to you about God. And it's like, you're horrible. And it's like, that's crazy. Like, it's crazy that you're so triggered by this, but you think it's disgusting they would take religious literature away from the Jews in Nazi Germany. Why do you think that's a problem? Do you think it helped them? So why are you against it in our society? Because we have everything, so we don't need it? Like, is it not the same thing that's happening, just inverted?
Well, I guess not that you didn't go the same direction I'm going, but I think I was more saying that now that everything's so opulent and lavish that we don't need hope. Like, our lives are easy. You know, there's nothing. If you're back in the day and you're farming,
but that's my point. I mean, if the Bible
you look
says
forward to the afterlife, like now we look forward to the weekend or you know, like just going on vacation.
If God has always said, don't put your faith in humans, put your faith in me. If God has always said, I mean, just countless messages of hope and inspiration. If we look at society now and you see us being like just bombarded with this stuff, part of you has to ask, why do I not feel the need of religion? Well, like you said, because I have people who give me everything, so I don't need hope because of these people. I'm not worshiping them. I'm just giving up my faith and putting it into them. I'm not worshiping them, but you know, I'm putting all my faith in them. And it's like, that's the whole point of the Bible is it's like, that's why I say it's inverted, because you could have evil people come and just be like, take your Bibles away, or you have good people come and give you everything until you throw your Bibles away. It's the exact same thing. It's just inverted.
Well, it's not necessarily that. I see what you're saying. It's not that we're being given stuff to lull us into a.
We are. The only technological advances we have are cell phones, TVs, social media. We don't have anything that's actually helped us live better lives. We just have nonstop trash and entertainment and get rich quick schemes that fund the stuff. So it's like, let's make more of it. You'll make some money. We're going to get everybody in this as much as we can. We're going to over-dilute, oversaturate until people are just like, oh, we will never run out of this. And you just kind of give up religion.
Like sugar. You know, like we'll never run out of sugar. Everyone on the planet can be sustained for thousands of years just by eating sugar and vitamins, or you know, it's like. But I guess what I'm saying is, I'm not taking away from what you're saying. I just think that, or I guess my point is that it's so easy to entertain ourselves, whether we're being controlled or not. It's the way that we live our lives. The kings in the Bible didn't have that life. They were like, oh, like salted meat that's not, you know, putrid or something like that. This is an opulent gift that only kings have. It's like we fucking have, we throw salt away, and it's like we chemically create it. So like, and we watch TV and we do all these things where we can just entertain ourselves endlessly without any input from outside ever. We pay a little bit of money, but like, you know, we have to work for that money. It's all very like, you know, like systematically rooted in our participation.
Almost like it's made to make you focus on everything but God, because you're constantly bombarded with everything.
But at the same time, we live in more opulence than the kings of the Bible's age. So it's an interesting.
And that's why I think it was done on purpose, all of this.
Yeah.
Because if you look in the past, not even too long ago, like kings could say, like, I'm going to take your food away. People will still cling to the Bible as they starve because they never got to a point where they felt like they were just taken care of, period. So now, when you see that repeating so much where it's like evil comes in and tries to decimate and good prevails. Evil comes in, good prevails. Evil comes in, good prevails. Well, how do we stop good? We have to turn good bad.
Yeah.
And how do you do that? These people are, all they think about and all of their faith and everything they worship is God. And we need to flood their mind so much that it washes God out so they can't focus on God. God's not in their thoughts. They can say they believe in God, but as they try to get this new promotion and they try to get this new car and they try to do this stuff, next thing you know, they have some of it and they're like, I need some new shoes to go with this. And now they're really trying to show the world how cool they are, what they've accomplished, all this stuff. And none of it has to do with God. It all has to do with what they were focused on, the promotion, all these things they had to research in order to prepare for the interview for the job even. I mean, it's bombardment. You know, it's like you want to make some extra money. Here's crypto, here's the stocks, there's all this stuff. Focus on this, watch this stuff. In your meantime, once you're off work and you're done going through all this stuff, exhausting yourself, you should relax. Play some video games, watch a movie. It's all here in abundance. They're trying to get us into a point where we just play so much that we exhaust ourselves, go to bed, and there's never really time for prayer. There's never really time to think about God or to even think about your situation or whether or not you're a good person. Did I handle that situation well? I don't know. I'm not thinking about that because I got all this other stuff going on.
And there's also no gratitude for what we have. And even as opulent and wasteful as our society is, it's a lot better than being a slave building the pyramids or something. You know, like, people don't stop to think how lucky and fortunate we are.
But that's what I think is on purpose.
That is God's...
overgive to everybody.
Right.
We were doing it right in this country, I think. Like, we got to a point where we were pretty well sustainable. But then something changed, and it just became all about glorifying... When you look at where a lot of, like, the industry came from when it comes to, like, labels and stuff, it was like prohibition speakeasy type shit to help smuggle booze. You know, it's like, we'll sign this person to a label, and then that justifies cars having to follow them, and that takes attention off the fact these cars are loaded with booze. So a lot of what created what we see now in the past, like, 100 years is a lot of mafia, gang, just like, it's illegal shit.
Syndicate, yeah.
And it's hard to say it hasn't just grown. So when you see all of, like, technology going one direction now, and the only focus is just really keep us distracted, obviously. I mean, you watch the news and you're like, all right, just tell me the truth. I just want to know what's going on in the country. They're like, this. And you're like, I'm mad. I'm furious. Until a week later, it's like, well, that's not technically how it happened, but that doesn't change the fact that you should still be upset over this scenario that we first gave.
Yeah.
And it's like,
and then here's something else.
It's like, I just want to know what's going on. You told me a lie, but you're backing it up. And I'm going to be honest, I still don't know the full story.
Yeah.
And it's like, why did I watch the news for this? Like, what am I watching? Because it seems like it's just getting me emotionally riled up and over focus on something that's 275, 100 miles away, whatever. It's like, this has nothing to do with me. It's not going to affect my life, yet I'm emotionally wrapped up in it. I need to relax, play some video games, smoke some weed, maybe drink some beer. It's like, next thing you know, I'm passed out and no time for God. I'm just saying, if society, when we were younger, and it's like, by the way, America has become the most obese country in the world. Did anybody acknowledge that and say, well, we'll do better? Or did everybody get fatter while they talked about making things healthier?
I think
Why would all these companies talk about and do all this stuff like what we're promoting is a healthier thing? Even McDonald's we did a whole health campaign.
Yeah.
And then we find out they have pink slime silicone in their chicken nuggets. And they're like, well, we'll drop the price. And you're like, okay, is it not about the health then? Because people are fatter now on average than they were back then when we were worried about it.
Yeah.
So it seems like you saw a problem and you found a way to kind of say, don't shame that problem, leave it alone, just
keep buying the nuggets
as we make the food less healthy. And it's like, well, how is this not a threat?
Yeah.
Like whatever's going on to me seems like a threat. You're distracting. Like, even if I break out of the distractions and just want to live a life, it's with who? Everybody's in their own stuff in the exact same algorithm where it's like, let's do this. Oh, hey, let's hang out for at least 20 minutes without you looking at your phone. It's like, you can't. And then you're like, well, screw it. That's how everybody is. I'll start doing it. Damn, it got me again.
Yeah.
It's like, without God or some kind of hope, this abundance of everything gives you this fishbowl of like, well, it's not needed here, so I have to find another way to navigate. And that's, I think, is what's causing people to just go crazy, is they don't look for the outlet that, for centuries we had.
Yeah.
Now it's, well, we don't really have that outlet because things are different now. So what do I do? What do I do if I'm unhappy and I have everything? What do I do?
Yeah.
It's like, God. Well, that's just a story for the Stone Age people who just needed to cope. Well, what are you trying to do? I'm trying to cope. And it's like, it's just this constant, just like whirlwind, like it's a hurricane. None of it makes sense. Everything's flying everywhere. But there's like one religion that's been around for a long time that's like, hey, all I'm here to offer is love and truth. Truth of what? Truth in general. For reality, for life.
Yeah.
You're like,
for your life.
You're like, that's just sounds racist, and I don't know. It just sounds like you're corrupt. I don't know. Something about this is evil.
Rather play Candy Crush.
Yeah, I saw an ad that said this is evil in between my Candy Crush gaming, and not a fan. Who is it by? Church of Satan. You're just like, well, read it yourself. Too long. Short attention span.
Well,
not on purpose though. Just a natural short attention span.
That was very well said, man. I will say that we're gonna clip that shit because that was good. That was very good insight. We are coming up on kind of like an hour. I'll just say a few words to kind of close it off, but yeah. So Christianity is obviously being attacked. It's disproportional to other things that aren't being attacked or scrutinized. There is some type of effort there, but I think things to the prescription moving forward is that there's obviously some kind of spiritual backlash that's been created by this suppression of Christianity in our country, or at least in our American culture. This is where our country was founded on. These ideals are baked into our laws. There's nothing wrong or oppressive about them. It's really just it's our rights and our freedoms are granted by God, and they can't be taken away by some type of oppressive government. But we see that is trying to that is being pushed both in this country and globally, controlling aspects of our lives, forms of slavery, our technology kind of sucking us into this reality that is artificial and is it's not healthy to our soul. It's poisonous, really. So, I'm sure anyone out there listening kind of recognizes that. Let us know what you think in the comments or the video comments. We'll respond to you guys and join us every Wednesday for the live chat if you want to be a part of the show. We got the chat pulled up here, and we can see what you guys think and respond to it. But as a closing thought, I think that the teachings of Christianity are not something that can be attacked. you can attack the history, you can attack the Catholic Church, you can go after the colonizers and the white man and all this stuff, all this oppressive stuff that everybody kind of sees as this overarching theme in world history. But if you really go back to the text, if you really go back to the teachings, it's meant to help the individual and the society, but more importantly for the individual, it's not something that's going to harm you. It's only going to do good.
It's like an accountability guide.
Yeah, and
it's only going to help everybody. Help society, like you said.
Right, and if you didn't buy into all of it and you just got a little bit of piece out of it, then that's going somewhere. It's not going to harm you to entertain these ideas, and I think that recognize in your own self and be self-aware to realize when you reject these type of ideas, and just question why do you reject these ideas? What's so wrong about believing in something that is a higher power that teaches you to be grateful for what you have and to love and help others? This isn't some oppressive thing. I'm not telling you have to go confess your sins to a priest. The ideas are out there, and there are people, online and just in every community teaching the right way to live by these codes and these virtues. And I think it's something that everyone would benefit from. And that's all I have to say about that.
Beautifully said. And for my closing, I'll kind of piggyback on that. I mean, yeah, that's the big thing, is we're fed so many lies now that I think we need to, if Christianity is something that bothers you, then actually read it. Life is full of lies now. We're almost bombarded with lies daily. So find it out for yourself. If it's this terrible thing, then build a case. I will say a lot of people, I only say that because I feel like I'm included. I was atheist, and part of it was like part of me wanted to disprove that aspect. And the more I looked into it, I had an experience, and I was like, oh, when you really focus on this, when you really have it on your mind, when you really think about it, when it's something that's just cycling through your mind, you can't get out of your mind, you're doing research, you're just everything, you'll have an experience. And when you have an experience, you go, oh, that was an experience off of thoughts. That doesn't usually happen. That never happens. I might have a feeling off of thoughts, but never an experience. And an experience off of a thought is more profound because, one, it stands out as something you've never experienced before, but two, you know where it came from because it's all you could think about, which is why I think they want us to not think about it at all, because that's where our power resides. If there's a God that created everything and he's in us and created us in his image, then he's meant to work through us. So that would be what our power is as humans. And how do we use it? We give up all the aspects of what make us feel comfortable. Like, look at me, I'm sexy, I'm cool, I'm this, I have a nice car. You give all that up and you just embody what it is to be good. Again, if you read the Bible, like you said, it's going to be hard to attack Jesus. He was a good person who was only there to benefit the individual.
And no one goes to church and is like, I hate everything that I heard. It's terrible.
Yeah. You might say, I went to church and the people judged me. Okay, well, let me give you a little Bible thing of, God's like, don't listen to the people.
Only God can judge you.
Don't listen to the people. I could be a church of Satan with a bunch of Satanists and just call myself a church. And as Christians, as people come in to learn about Christ, I could just turn them away. Like, anything can be a trap, even if it is somebody who really thinks they are but aren't, or somebody who knows they aren't and tries to lure you as they are.
Yeah.
You'll know the truth when you hear it, and that's what it comes down to. Follow whatever you need to follow, but it needs to be rooted in truth. You have to believe what you say and stand for what you say.
Follow that truth, guys. What's wise words to live by?
Follow it.
Thank you for joining us tonight. Join us every Wednesday live or leave a comment in the chat. Let us know what you think.
Until next time, Meta Perspective out.
Meta Perspective Podcast.